Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, built a statue.
But it wasn't just any statue. It was a giant image made of gold and set up in a plain of Dura.
He brought all the rulers of Babylon together in front of the statue. Then the king told them they were to bow down and worship the image when they heard the music play.
If they did not worship the golden image, they'd be thrown into a fiery furnace.
Soon the music played, and all the rulers of Babylon bowed and worshipped the statue, except 3 Jewish men, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Their Babylon names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
When the Babylonians saw the 3 Jewish men didn't bow down, they told Nebuchadnezzar.
The king was furious. The 3 men were brought before him, and he gave them a second chance to bow down to the idol.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused. They told the king of Babylon that their God could rescue them from the fiery furnace,
but that they would not bow down before the golden image, even if he didn't save them.
Nebuchadnezzar was outraged and ordered that the fiery furnace be heated up 7 times more than it was usually heated.
In his fury, the king had thrown the faithful Jews into the furnace,
and was so hot that the guards who threw them in perished from the heat.
After a while, Nebuchadnezzar asked, "Didn't we only put 3 men in the furnace? Now I see 4, and one is like the Son of God."
The king called the men out of the furnace.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out.
Nebuchadnezzar saw that they were unharmed, and the ropes had burned off, and they didn't even smell like smoke.
God protected his faithful servants.
Nebuchadnezzar made a statue entirely of gold.
Interestingly, in his dream in Daniel 2, Daniel interpreted that there was also a giant statue.
However, Nebuchadnezzar's dream, only the head of the statue was made of gold.
As the king of Babylon, he didn't want to share his power or authority with anyone. He wanted to make sure he wouldn't lose any of his power.
We can have confidence in our faith because we're anchored in God. A relatively small anchor can hold a large ship from drifting over the ocean.
Our faith is only as secure as the thing in which we put our trust. We can have confidence in God because we can know Him.
The 3 men were able to be confident and did not compromise. They truly believed in what they were standing up for.
They anchored their faith in God.
Our first point, they knew God.
Abraham Lincoln was 6'4". Ronald Reagan liked jelly beans. George Washington died of pneumonia. Just because we know these facts about historical figures doesn't mean that we actually know them.
In the same way, just knowing facts about God doesn't mean we know Him. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were confident in God's ability to rescue them because they knew Him.
No doubt they were faithful to pray to Him and to honor Him with their life. It was their knowing and following God that strengthened their genuine faith.
Our second point is that they knelt only to God. What does it mean to be a Christian?
Is it not a box that you check off?
It's an identity that you live out. Being a Christian means you belong to a different kingdom.
You belong to the true and living God. Even though the Babylonians changed their names to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they did not lose their identity.
These Jewish boys knew the first of the 10 commandments was to have no other gods before Yahweh.
Bowing to this golden statue would be to be breaking this commandment. For the Old Testament Jews, obeying the 10 commandments was how they showed they loved God.
These men loved God, so they kept His commandments. They remained faithful to the true and living God and only worshiped Him.
Lastly, they kept their convictions.
The early church faced a similar problem as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But instead of bowing to an idol in the Roman Empire, Rome would pressure Christians to confess Caesar as Lord rather than Jesus as Lord.
The early Christians faced severe persecution and even death for standing up for their faith.
It would be easy to compromise and say Caesar is Lord and go with the flow.
But like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, many stood for their faith, even if it cost them everything.
It's easy to go with the flow and keep quiet about what you believe.
The world and the kingdom of darkness make it desirable for Christians to just blend in. But Christians live for the kingdom of God.
The kingdom of God is countercultural to the world. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew to what kingdom they belonged to and why.
They knew they belonged to God, so their convictions were unshaken.
For them, it wasn't an option to kneel to another god.